Mike, you would think a team with one win would be so dispirited, but Ella Masser has this team absolutely buzzing. They've reset the minimum standard, and they want to take their game to opponents. That's going to be a tough proposition tonight because North Carolina stand 10 toes down on their possession strategy. It's just a question of can they turn that possession into more end products.
So North Carolina changing coaches a couple weeks ago, and they've talked about being more aggressive. What's that actually look like on tape?
Well, North Carolina, they're master manipulators, and they do that in two ways. One is through their positioning. They create those central clusters. I'm calling it the hot zone. Look how many players they have on San Diego's back line. Denise O'Sullivan waits for the opposition to collapse. That creates space inside the half space, and it's Ryan Williams, the wingback, getting into box-crossed areas, the runs to the near post. That leaves Rao unmarked on the back post, and they do it, secondly, through superb technical quality. Malia Berkeley commandeers possession, wiggles through pressure. They have three players committed to getting into the box, and then it's Jaden Shaw with tons of time and space sliding at home. And this could be the perfect storm for the Chicago Stars because they've conceded 15 of 24 open play goals coming from crossing situations. Proactively, they've got to stop the supply line. Reactively, they've got to win their individual battles. But this is a scenario North Carolina is going to look to create tonight, draw Stars out, and that's going to create space on the back post they're going to look to take advantage of.
All right, so Chicago trying to improve on what's a league worst defensive record this year. But since Ella Masser took over, they've found an identity that they're pleased with. And however long she remains head coach, you have to say they are much improved.
Well, this is a team tonight, we're going to see some elements of underdog football because it's against North Carolina. But they've really started to implement a simple strategy. They want to bring their line of confrontation up higher and start their high press. Here they nick possession, and then it's first pass forward. How quickly can we get the ball from A to B, quick combination play, and then it's Shea Groom who finishes it off. But this Stars team have a lot of forwards up top that are good in transition and exceptional off the dribble. They're going to look to create through set pieces, draw fouls, and corner kicks has been a vulnerability for North Carolina all year. The last way is they're going to look for a moment of individual brilliance. Look at that shoulder dip, boom! And Lou Jamila is off, running at back lines. She can twist, she can turn, the hezzies, the feints, take defenders on, take them inside out. And when she gets into goal-scoring positions, she is clinical.
Seattle came from 3 goals down. They've got one back.
Wow, wow, wow. We have just witnessed something so immensely special. Lou Jamila gets squared up against the fullback. A little bit of separation as 4 players converge on her. She sees a small window, and it's a long-range screamer from outside the box. Ludmila brings one back. Top bids only. And that's the space we were talking about. When she gets into goal-scoring positions, she is so clinical. That was flipping awesome. That was a big-time save from Casey Murphy. And to your point earlier, Mike, it's been an up-and-down season for this North Carolina defense, but Casey Murphy comes out big and aggressive. And Schlegel got in behind. And this is an element of Casey Murphy's game that she took so seriously in the offseason, being more aggressive in 1v1 situations. It's a deeper ball from Malum into the run of Ludmila. The little counter movement, the opposite movement allows Schlegel a fortuitous bounce in behind. And that's the aggressive, the decision, the early decision that Casey Murphy makes. Aggressive to come out, gets clipped there from Schlegel in the end. Astute goalkeeping from Casey Murphy tonight. That just roused me up, Mike. I got to work with Casey this offseason, and that's a huge element of her game that she's added. Another tool that she's added, being more aggressive, transferring the pressure to the attacker. Does it picture perfectly. 2 pieces of individual brilliance and a set piece, ball clipped into the back post. How do you leave the most lethal goal scorer on the field for either team so uncontested in the back post? Macy Bell doesn't read it. She's moving backwards while Ludmila is attacking this ball. Steers it back across the frame. Casey Murphy sliding across, traveling a long way to be able to impact that. Fantastic finish, the execution, the technique, the decision, sublime. These are the situations that we talked about in the open that would be important for this North Carolina Courage team. Manaka getting into the advanced half space, looking for that box cross, and it takes a kind bounce, not only to Tyler Lucy, but a double doink off of the crossbar over the goal line and gives this North Carolina Courage team a bit of a cushion here. 2-0, you can see the full ball went over that goal line before Alyssa Nair was able to swipe it away. But again, it's North Carolina Courage getting into the advanced half space and those accurate, precise box crosses in front of goal. Chicago defenders all look like defending is optional here, facing their own goal. Jaden Shaw continues her run, opens her foot, slides it past the listener.
As we bring in our match analyst, Jill Loyden, now to tell us more about tonight's matchup against North Carolina. Jill, I want to know, what has impressed you most from some of the young players on this Thorns roster this season?
Well, coming into this season, the narrative was all centered around a rebuild for the Thorns. No Sauerbrunn, Sinclair, Klingenberg, all moving on. And certainly the Thorns would have foresaw those personalities leaving and departing the team and prepared for it. But then they lose Wilson and Weaver. That's a lot of attacking production. Mueller and Payne go down in preseason. And all of a sudden, the Thorns have to rely on these youngsters. And typically that can go one of two ways. You can be engulfed by their responsibility, or you can step up and play with the naivety that can really come across in spectacular ways. And in the end, it turns out that the kids are all right. These are some key contributions from these young players. Just look at the scan right there from Raylan Turner at the bottom of your screen. Great pass here from Jessie Fleming, but Turner getting the other side of the Seattle defense. Yes, it's tactical with her scan. It's technical with her touch, but it's a lot of courage right there to be able to claim that and come across a goalkeeper that's aggressive. And then it's Portland. They almost scored the Yahtzee of set pieces. This effort was a second chance free kick, initial build out. Tsukita keeps it alive. Obeys dishes it out to Moultrie, who just completely sits down the Seattle defender before she squares up this pass across the frame. It gets a kind bounce, but Reina Reyes in a position where she can score goals. We've seen it all season long, the attacking side of her game, but this had to be one of the best goals of the day. It looked the simplest, but often the simplest ones are the best. It starts from a kickoff, and the wherewithal, the vision from Jessie Fleming to play that ball into Hina Sagita. Torden in between the two center backs takes a fantastic touch and seals the deal for the Portland Thorns. And to say that these youngsters just add to the attacking side of the ball would be a bit reductive, because they set the tone for this effective Portland press.
How can Kansas City break them down?
Well, Kansas City has attacking threats all over the field. They always look like they're going to score. Laura Harvey's going to employ some conventional wisdom tonight. She's going to drop that line of confrontation. The back five are going to try to limit Schwinga's influence in behind. They're going to have two players that are trying to thicken up the central areas, and that's going to put some pressure on Kansas City to be more efficient at breaking down a lower block. There's 4 different ways that this Kansas City current team can look to break down Seattle. Number 1 is overloading the hot zone, that central area. Kansas City always have that central presence. They get their opponent to collapse. The space comes down the side, and then they fill the area with players in key areas. And that triangle down the center of the pitch that we're going to see has the ability to give this Kansas City team the opportunity to speed up this short, quick, executed passes, incisive passes, to find a way to break through a really tight back line. That's going to be a key way that this Kansas City current team can break down Seattle's players in central areas. They can also use set pieces to their advantage. They're going to have Dabinia starting tonight. She's a free kick specialist. She can fashion opportunities for herself, but she also has aerial threats like Kayla Sharples that can get on the end of service. And when you're playing against the back five, the space becomes around the wing backs. Kansas City is going to camp out in the final third. There's going to be opportunities for these type of flank services from the ambitious fullbacks. And the aim of the low block is to restrict space behind the back line and in front. Sheer numbers in front of goal make it hard to create. And if you can take a moment of individual brilliance, craft, cleverness, improv to try to get around the really tight, compact back lines, that could be the difference maker for Kansas City tonight. And they have plenty of players that are capable of that magic. Here's a great graphic to show the variety of different ways that this Kansas City current team can look to break down Seattle. They're not over-reliant in one particular method of scoring, and that can make it really difficult to keep Kansas City quiet for 90 minutes. Seattle has an uphill battle tonight, even before the whistle blows.
I always learn something when Jill Loyden speaks. Jill, thank you so much. Have a great call. We'll see you in just a bit.
I don't think I've said this on record yet, but going way back a year ago when the job was up for grabs, she would have been my number one. I would have made a case for her to be the number one goalkeeper for the U.S. women's team because of her flexibility, her adaptability. She can play in any system. She can play in any way. She can play those penetrative passes in central position. She can play longer passes in possession. She offers a variety of ways to be able to break down presses and blocks, but also out of possession as well. She is very preventative. We've already seen her tonight, North Carolina, trying to play those long longer direct passes in behind. Her vertical positioning is high. She's very, very comfortable in those positions, making decisions on being preventative. And of course, we saw last week against Portland how well she can shot